So everyone else, let's scooch in. Let's come on in close so that we can talk. Because this is going to be I think a pretty neat little discussion we're going to have, and what we're going to do. So, and the reason you'll need to bunch together, we have 6 of these prepared, and we can send a document to you, to everyone. So this is for you to keep, Karen and Craig. This is for you. And David?
Right here.
Okay. So, and then what we have, I have 3 more of these prepared. So I'm going to ask you to gather in bunches so that you can kind of, maybe a group of you together here and then another group together over here with Jana so that you can read along. Okay? So this is, as I said, let's all get together so you can read and look at this. And then also, we're going to have some transparencies. This is, and we'll explain this in a minute as we go over. This is Williamson's settlement in 1900. Bernie Lodum did this years ago. And this is what it looked like. This is the overlay of today on top. And so we'll be referring to this as we go through the sites. There's one here and here.
Thank you.
And David. And then we do have some more of these as well. Jana, would you kind of pass those around so folks will have them to look at? So I thought what we could do is first of all, we're going to have Bill explain how he is related to William Williamson and how this land is related to the original 160 acres, which started back over here and went to where you were earlier at my mom's place. This became Calvin land, and that's Jasper land. Okay, and so without further ado, Bill.
All right. Well, I'm thankful that you're here. This is kind of a unique situation when you stop and think about where the church got started in Texas. And so Calvin was number 13 of William Williamson's children. And so that's where we come from. His wife lived, as you drive to the church, there's a road there called Aunt Sadie, and you'll see some big, beautiful oak trees. She lived right in those trees, were shade. And so this was part of her hayfield. And so Calvin, as we talk about it, was instrumental in kind of getting the church going. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. Do you want me to go into the William Williamson story and just kind of
talk about where we think the home was, and the elders coming from the west over from Weiss Bluff and them and all that. Yeah.
So I want you to picture, you guys can't go to Weiss Bluff because of the flooding. When you read their journals, it seemed like there was a common theme. Rain, and we got 3 meals. Rain, and we got 3 meals. And over the last 2 weeks, today is an exception, we have got a lot of rain. This is one of the few high parts on a natural hill in this field. Over there where that metal building around in that corner, we believe was where William Williamson's original homestead was. Towards that corner of the field, so you can see that. Now these trees look like, is Don and I kind of look at, some of these could have been around close to when he was 120, 25 years ago or so. So it all started in January of 1900. And 2 missionaries were being obedient. They were going to the Weiss Bluff post office to drop off their reports. And it had been wet and cloudy. It was so cloudy that they couldn't see the sun, and they got turned around and started moving in the opposite direction. Instead of going north back into Jasper County, they ended up going south to here, down this way. When you read section 4 of the Doctrine and Covenants. It says the field is white already to harvest. This is Uncle Dale who's coming in, who is the brother of Arlen, who was the daughter of Calvin. So that's second generation, right?
He's the oldest son.
Oldest son. So what happened was, a little earlier than January 1900, William Williamson and his wife had an older gentleman named Busley that was sick, and they invited him into their home to stay until he passed away. And Mr. Busley got the ear of William Williamson, and he made a statement that had stuck with William Williamson and impressed him so much. He said when he was part of the war or army, they had traveled out to Utah. And there, while he was out there in Utah, he had met Brigham Young, and he observed the saints, and he was so impressed with them that he came back and shared that with William Williamson. He said he never met a kinder, wiser man than Brigham Young, and he said the saints were so well organized, so prosperous, so ahead of everywhere else he had visited. And he turned to William Williamson and he said, I want you to think about that. And that event was the catalyst in preparation for those two missionaries that got lost, but not lost to the Lord, right? The Lord knew exactly where he was sending them. So you can imagine, I want you to just pretend you have a home and you're looking down your lane, and guess who you see walking up your lane? Two missionaries, and he recognized them right off the bat on who they were and who they represented. And we know the phrase he used. Do you remember what that was?
Them's my men.
Them's my men. And I thought that was interesting. He didn't go, who is that? He knew exactly who they were. And the weather played a significant role as well, because it was so wet. They had to stay for quite a few days and preach. And William Williamson got all his family, friends, everyone he could think of together for several days there in his home. And it started the seeds of the church right here in this very spot, which in turn, generation after generation, we're on 4 and 5 generations, I believe, that are here. Calvin was my great grandfather, 3 greats, 2 greats, and he went to Salt Lake to be sealed, was so impressed, they wanted to move there. And he wrote the mission president seeking counsel before he moved. I think President O'Bannon was his name. And President O'Bannon said, Calvin, don't you leave, you're needed here. And he stayed and was the first Sunday school president, and later on became the branch president for I think 13 to 15 years.
Thank you, Bill. We sure appreciate that. And I thought what we could do now was, if you'll turn in your little book or get to where you can see one, second page in, on the front, of course, are the missionaries and their first converts. On the second page, you'll see a Google map. To your right, this blue dot is where we are, or where we are now. This is actually, turned upside down this way. You'll see on the left it says Weiss Bluff. And that's exactly 4.9 miles by Google Map directly to our west. That's the Neches River. And that's where Weiss Bluff is. So they originally, as Bill said, meant to go north back to Jasper County. The county line is just a mile up to our north here. And they, as we've heard, got lost and came here and walked just over to this field. So this is a map of what we're seeing. We can't go to Weiss Bluff, as has been mentioned, because of the rain. Now first, let's start off, and if you go to the next page, you'll see Weiss Bluff and Williamson Settlement, January 8 to 15, 1900, first visit of elders James Gilbert Reed and Joseph Allen Brooks, Brooks Journal. So we're going to just have the descendants come forward and read from their grandfather, great-grandfather's journals where these events happened here, and we'll just go along. These are actually pretty short entries for each page. This should go pretty quickly. And why don't we do this? Elder Reed did not have, we can't find his journal. And so why don't we just go in order? Is it okay if we have, Craig, would you come forward and we'll start here, and then we'll have Karen read. And then in a minute, we're going to get into when Elder Rencher comes along, and we're going to have David read from some of his journals, okay? So if you'll just start off and read from the experience of your grandfather and Karen's great-grandfather on January the 8th.
It was still a little cloudy, but had not rained much. We made some very good friends in that settlement. We decided to go down in the lower part of the country and try to get through with it before it rained, as it was very low and swampy. We stopped all night with a widow lady by the name of Fawcett. We got up in the morning, had a very good night's rest. The lady we stopped with was quite wealthy. The post office was there. The place was called Weiss Bluff. We mailed our reports. It had rained some of the night before, and it was very cloudy that morning. The lady started us on road, but we got lost. We could not see the sun, so we lost our direction, but finally came out all right. We came to a place. The man's name was Williamson. He was a very nice old gentleman. It was about dinner time. He asked if we would not stop and preach for them that night. We had got a little out of our country and into Orange County, but we told them we could preach. We had a very good time.
All right, thank you, Craig. Karen, would you come forward as well? You can just stay up there, Craig. And if you would just keep going.
Okay. When we got up in the morning, it was raining. It continued all day and most of the night. At night, it was slacked up a little. A few of the neighbors came in, and we held a meeting in the same place. We stopped over the night with the same man we did the night before, with Mr. Williamson. The next morning, the weather had cleared up, but it was so wet and muddy that we could not travel. We were in low, swampy country anyhow. We stopped all day and night with a son-in-law of Williamson's by the name of W.C. Baker. The next day we decided to go on a ways further. Mr. Williamson said he was going up to his daughter's. She lived on our road, so he went along with us. But when we got there, we found out a big marsh was so high that we could not cross. Mr. Williamson asked us to come back and stop over with him until after Sunday. We did so. The next day we stayed with Mr. Williamson. Elder Reed was sick part of the day, but was all right the next morning. The weather was then clear, but it was very wet and muddy. It was Sunday. There was preaching there that day. The preacher wanted us to take part with him. He was a Free Will Baptist. We had a very good meeting. After meeting, we went back to Mr. Williamson's and stayed the remainder of the day and night. The next day, it had clouded up a little. We decided to get out of that part of the country before it rained anymore. One of Mr. Williamson's sons said he would haul us across that big marsh. We were very thankful to him for his kindness to us. Otherwise, we would have had to wait, and it would have been very disagreeable. We left that settlement with some very earnest investigators. They were very well pleased with our beliefs.
Thank you. So any thoughts you two have about that?
I think we had it pretty easy on my mission, compared to them. No marshes or mosquitoes or.
I just can't imagine having to go from day to day wondering if you're going to meet anybody, if you're going to have food, where you will sleep that night, all of the above. I can't even imagine having to live like that, and it just makes me appreciate them more for what they went through and what they brought. So.
Thank you. And actually, when he said Elder Reed was sick, if you go back over the couple of months before, he had a severe malaria incident. Elder Reed did. And then, of course, Elder Brooks didn't have malaria yet, but he would have his turn for most of his mission.
You were a problem for all of them, it seemed.
It was. They all had malaria. Now, David, would you come up and join them?
Sure.
And so this is January 17th, 1900, and this is when Elder Reed returns. Karen, do you want to, you're free to stay up here and help, or you can take a seat, whichever.
I'm okay.
Okay, all right. And so this is now, if you look April 17th, it's 3 months after they found them, and they have a conference which we'll talk about tonight in the fireside, in Houston in February. And the companionships are changed. Elder Brooks is given a new companion, and Elder Rencher and Elder Reed and Elder Rencher then go back through Liberty County, where Elder Rencher's family had lived before, and then walked along the train tracks across the Neches River on the tracks, and came back to teach the Williamsons.
All right. I'm going to go off script for just a second, if it's okay.
You can go wherever you want, Dave.
What you don't know is probably what a miracle it was that Elder Rencher survived to even be here. Born in 1877, he was also 13 of 13 children. He weighed 2.5 pounds at birth in 1877. So we just had a new granddaughter yesterday, and of course, hospital all around, all that kind of stuff. To incubate my grandfather, they stuck him in the bun warmer of the oven in their home. His aunt said that she could take her ring and slide it all the way up his leg to here, that his legs were so small. So that Rencher homestead remained in the family, still in the family. And several years ago, one of my cousins went down, and he went through the home, and there stood the oven that had been there, original to the home. So he took a picture of it and he sent it to me, and he said, "Here's the oven that warmed your grandpa's buns." All right. April 17th, 1900, Tuesday. It's still cloudy and misty today. Went from Mr. Gentry's over to Mr. Baker's, from there to the old gentleman's Williamson, and took dinner. From there, we went up to one of his son-in-laws by the name of Cole, where we remained overnight. Wednesday, April 18th, 1900. Wednesday, last night it cleared up and is a pretty day. We come back to Mr. Williamson's to fill an appointment for 3 o'clock. Took a shave and slicked up some. Our meeting was well attended. After meeting, we practiced a few songs. Perrin shingled my hair, whatever that is. Probably cut, right? April 19th, 1900, Thursday. Rained hard all day, so we just stayed housed up all day and tried to learn the girls some songs. Friday, April 20th, 1900. This morning is clear and pretty. We had a baptizing today. Brother Williamson and wife were baptized. Elder Reed officiating. I confirmed. Returned back to Brother Williamson's and made out their certificates, and went down to C.W. Baker's place, about a half-mile south of Brother Williamson's. April 21st, 1900, Saturday. Cloudy. Went up to see how the old gentleman felt after baptism. Found him feeling fine and in good spirits. Took dinner there, and then went up to their sons, Parms, and chatted them for a while. Stayed all night with Brother Williamson. Sunday, April 22nd, 1900. This morning we went up to Brother Billiards, a short distance away, who is a Free Hill preacher. We gave it to him pretty straight. About noon it commenced to rain and continued for about 2 hours, real hard. It let up a little, and we started back to Brother Williamson to fill an appointment at 3 o'clock. Come very near getting our jackets wet. There was several things waiting when we reached there. Stayed all night with Brother Williamson. April 23rd, 1900, Monday, raining. This morning we bade our farewells, our friends goodbye, and started to Beaumont for 9 miles. We had to wade from shoe top to knee deep. Then we reached the railroad, arriving in town about 3 p.m.
Thank you, David. Now, if you'll go to the next page, it's titled Williamson Homestead, June 5th to 14th, 1900. Reunion and parting of elders before Elder Reed's return home, Elders Reed, Brooks, Rencher, and Decker. So now Elder Reed and Elder Rencher are companions, and Elder Brooks and Elder Decker are companions. But the two companionships run into each other here. They weren't aware when they came back that the other companionship was here in the settlement. So they just didn't want to leave. And so the four elders stayed here. And you'll notice, if you go read the actual journals, there were several of the children of William and Joissine that they would stay with as well, that had homes here in the area. But they really wanted to stay here with William and Joissine. And so all four of them stayed together on several of these entries. And so what we'll do is read some from Elder Brooks' account. Now remember, Elder Rencher is there, and he has a journal as well. So we have Elder Brooks' journal, Elder Rencher's journal. So first we'll read this account from Elder Brooks, and then there's some other neat perspectives we get from Elder Rencher's journal. So we'll start off. Karen, would you mind? Well, we'll have you two alternate since it's your companionships. Maybe, Craig, would you start since she read last? And then maybe just alternate pages as we go along. And then at the end of this one, we'll have David read from his grandfathers. It's the same account, same time.
Okay, June 5th, 1900. The weather was still cloudy. In the afternoon, we had a heavy rain. We spent the day at Brother Williamson's talking the gospel, ate 3 meals. June 6th. It took a little bit. It looked a little bit like the weather was going to clear up. We went with the 3 of the Brother Williamson sons to the creek and had a bath. The afternoon was passed away with singing. Brother Williamson's girls were getting so they could sing some of our songs pretty well. Ate 3 meals. Thursday, June 7th. After eating breakfast, we decided to walk to Brother Williamson's son-in-law, Abe Cole. We took dinner with them, spent the day talking, stayed overnight at Cole's, ate 3 meals. Weather clear and quite warm. Friday, June 8th. After eating breakfast, we left Brother Cole's and walked over to the Burrells. We went from there to Brother Bilbo's, ate dinner with him, had a meeting that evening. After supper, we walked over to the neighbors where they were going to have stayed overnight at Bilbo's.
Saturday, June 9th, had a long talk with Mr. Burrell. We couldn't agree on several things. Administered to his daughter. We heard the night before that the Elders Reed and Rencher were at the Williamsons, and we went and met them there, ate dinner there. Elder Rencher and I stayed at Brother Williamson's. The other 2 went over to the Bakers, ate 3 meals. Weather clear and warm. Sunday, June 10th, we fasted for breakfast. After dinner, Elders Decker and Reed came over. Elder Reed then got up and preached for about 45 minutes. I then got up and spoke a second time. All seemed to be well pleased. The rest of the day was spent as Brother Williamson's at Brother Williamson's. We all stayed there all night. Weather was clear.
Monday, June 11th, 1900. The day passed away at Brother Williamson's. Elder Reed dyed his coat. In the evening, we had a rain. We all 4 stopped at Brother Williamson's that night, had a nice time together, ate 3 meals. Tuesday, June 12th. Arose in the morning feeling well as usual. We all stayed at Brother Williamson's till after dinner when Elders Reed and Rencher went to Mr. Cream's. Elder Decker and I retained. About sundown, 2 of Brother Williamson's boys got back from Orange. They brought our mail out for us. We got some coats from the coffee. Mine was too big, so I couldn't wear it. Ate 3 meals. Weather clear and warm. Wednesday, June 13th. Had a good night's rest. Weather still warm and clear. We remained at Brother Williamson's until after dinner. We decided to go on, so in the evening we walked up to Brother Cole's and there met Elders Reed and Rencher. It was rather unexpected to us. We had a nice time that night singing. Stopped overnight with Brother Cole, ate 3 meals.
I like to hear that they had 3 meals.
Yeah.
Well, that was a big event.
always
Sounds like it was rare.
It was rare.
My goodness.
So I think
Thursday, June 14th. Soon after eating breakfast, Elders Reed and Rencher left. We walked out a ways with them and bid Elder Reed goodbye, expecting never to see him again, as he was expecting his release any day. Elder Decker walked back to Brother Cole's, got our grips, and went over to Mr. Bilbo's.
And the grips, of course, is their bags. Okay, now, David, would you read the same period from Elder Rencher's journal?
Sure. June 6, 1900, Wednesday. Was out bright and early this morning for Beaumont to get our mail, but was disappointed, never got any. On account of so much water on the ground, we decided to go up to Uncle Billy Williamson for a few days and wait for it to dry out some. Walked about 12 miles, and after rambling through the woods and water, we come up on a family living in a small shanty. Being about to give out, we asked if we could stop until morning, which he granted. Their name was Lewis. June 7th, 1900, Thursday. On our way this morning, we met Mr. Bellard from the Williamson settlement, who informed us we couldn't get there without wading deep, but if we would wait until he come back, he would take us in his wagon, which we did. We walked to the bridge and then waited for him. He was working a couple of small ponies, and as we got in the deepest place where it commenced to rain in the wagon, one of them balked. So all 3 of us had to get out in the water and I guess help him out. Got to his house about 9 p.m. and took supper with him. Calvin and Joe Williamson was there, and we went over to Uncle Billy's with him. Found them all well and glad to see us. We then learned that Elders Brooks and Decker were in the settlement and had preached a few times. June 8th, 1900, Friday, we remained at Brother Williamson's all day and rested up some. June 9th, 1900, Saturday. This morning the elders joined us at Brother Williamson's, and we had a jolly fine time. In the evening we went in the swimming and had a fine time generally, after which Elders Reed and Decker went over to Brother Baker's to stay all night, who since our last visit had turned against us by the persuasion of some preacher. June 10th, 1900, Sunday, we assembled at Brother Williamson's and preached for them at 3 p.m. I presided and Elder Reed and Brooks took up the time. After meeting, we sang several hymns, had a very large turnout at the meeting. June 11th, 1900, Monday, all is well this morning. Have been drying some today. About noon it became a heavy shower. Remained all night at Brother Williamson's, also Elder Brooks and Decker. June 12th, 1900, Tuesday, all of us stayed at Brother Williamson's until afternoon, and then Elder Reed and myself went up to Mr. Tremmy's to spend one night before leaving the settlement. He was glad to see us coming, had to take off our shoes and wade a swamp in order to get to his place as he lives on an island. June 13th, 1900, Wednesday. This morning, after waiting a while for the dew to dry off, we went to Brother Cole's about 1 mile east. There we took dinner, and as they so insisted on us to stay all night, we did. About sundown, Elders Brooks and Decker came, and they insisted on us all to stay with them, so did so and had a real nice time. Spent the evening conversing and singing hymns. June 14th, 1900, Thursday. This morning bade Brother Cole and family goodbye and started back to Beaumont. Elders Brooks and companion going with us a short distance, and then parted with them and went as far as Brother Williamson's, where we remained all night. The girls made some popcorn balls and we enjoyed. After supper, we all joined in a good gospel conversation until about 11 o'clock.
Thank you. Let me just give you 2 of these.
Oh,
Here you go.
Oh, thank you.
So we're now going to go to the Jasper place, and we have some readings from the Brooks Journal there. So we don't have any other readings for this site, but just imagine, as Bill said earlier, there was a lot of cattle. So there were 2 things going on then. One were virgin pine forests, or if they'd harvested the pine, cattle would graze the area all the way to the Natchez River until the barbed wire came in, and it hadn't come in yet. And so a lot of this was grazing land, but then there were also large stands of pine forest. So just bring your mind back, and you notice the theme of rain and waiting, right? Everyone see that? Anyone else have anything they want to say or just about your thoughts, your impressions of what happened 125 years ago this year here at this spot?
I think you guys are all so impressed with their ascendants and so grateful. We get that, but we are so impressed with yours. He knew it before he heard it. He believed it. They loved it. They embraced it. This is to William and Joissine's credit. It's remarkable that they were met. Can you imagine how happy they would have been to be received so well, 3 meals a day? The way they were treated, it must have seemed a miracle. If missionaries were treated like that today, they would think it was remarkable. But in this time of want and stuff, to be so well received, we think that's miraculous for them.
Well, and the love went both ways. Not only did they love these elders, and we still do, but I think the elders felt that they were their home away from home. And as you read the journals, the theme of they all had malaria. We saw just in that brief reading Elder Reed's bout with malaria. Elder Brooks would have his turn. And the members, these early members here, became their family, became their home away from home. At one point, Elder Decker and Elder Brooks came a little later, and they were both deathly ill with malaria, and Amelia Williamson Cole put them to bed and nursed them back to life. Instead of going home, they stayed, and after they were nursed back to life, they did the first 3 baptisms of the Williamson descendants and Sadie Trimmy, who was not a Williamson descendant, here in the settlement after William and Joissine. And that started this, because otherwise we have an older couple joining the church here, and it's to and out. And it's what happened in Houston and many other places, but that did not happen here. And so Elder Brooks would stay and later become conference president, and a year and a half later would supervise the building of the first log church in the state of Texas, right over here where we'll end up in a moment. Anyone have any other thoughts or comments? Randall, you want to?
I'm just grateful for somebody that's willing to keep a journal. Without that, and when he talks about the little girls singing, and I know that my grandmother, Zilly, for those little girls singing, and I don't know, just gets you think, just reading simple, 3 meals, rain, all that, but it becomes like scripture that you're reading.
It is now, isn't it?
Can I say something real
Please.
quick? Obviously, I'm one of the younger William Williamson descendants, but I had the chance last night to talk with Elder Harris, and we were talking a little bit about ancestors and how they're on the other side of the veil, and they can sometimes impress upon your mind or lead you with the Spirit. I got back from my mission about 2 weeks ago, and I had all these experiences on my mission where I felt like people were pushing me on the other side, right? Helping me out, leading me along, giving me that strength. And now being here at the William Williamson reunion, I woke up this morning and I couldn't help but think it was all the William Williamson descendants all on my mission that gave me these impressions and these thoughts and these things to do. And I feel like a lot of the strength that I received on my mission all came from these descendants because of your ancestors and baptizing them.
I think what's so incredible is how much love is in the Williamson family from way back then to now. It's so incredible to me, and I've never witnessed anything like this before. And so many people that I got to meet last night who talked about every single relative. And I don't know how, I mean, I come from a really small family, but I can't imagine knowing every single person's name, and they proudly recite everybody's name, who they're from, and this aunt and this uncle, and there's just so much love, and this whole entire family loves the Williamson, that they came from the Williamson family, and it's very, very impressive.
I was impressed last night that as I was introduced to different people and they said who I was, everyone seemed to know the story of the missionaries and the going to everybody, even young people, everybody seems to know that story. So it was that was impressive. And I think we don't have James Gilbert's journal. We think it's fairly likely that it could have been lost in a house fire that happened. So I wish we found it someday. It could have been lost in a fire. But it's also interesting that he went home and got married, had 13 kids or something, and I'm sure he never had any idea what happened here after he left. And which is amazing.
Thank you, Craig.
And most missionaries even
Someone else?
will have no idea what's going to happen to some of those people.
Yes.
When we were reading the journals, it is a lot about food and the weather, but one part really stood out to me, and it actually reminded me of the parable of the seeds in Scripture. And at one point, I don't remember who wrote it, but he said that other people in the town were trying to dissuade them against the gospel, turn them against, the missionaries and their gospel message. And I just thought how cool it was that the seeds that they had already planted in the lives of the people that were here and the relationships that were already started could not stand against a lot of the division that was happening in this part of the country during that time in the Protestant church. So it was very divisive, and I just thought it was cool. I was reminded of the parable of the seeds, and those seeds fell on good soil and started to take root very quickly, and so that stood out to me.
Thank you, Philip. Anyone else? Marshall, do you have any thoughts for us?
I've been thinking that William and Joissine already had the gospel in their hearts. They treated the missionaries so well because that's the way they treated everyone. And so, but I expect that William had some kind of experience with the Spirit when Mr. Busley shared his witness with him, so that he recognized when the missionaries arrived that them's my men. How would he know otherwise? Somehow he had already had some kind of witness of the Spirit that this is what he was looking for all of his life, living the great Christian life or just the great life. Being a good Samaritan to Mr. Busley when his health is not good, and yet they take him in at a time that's not convenient. Lives of service, that's what we're celebrating here.
Thank you, Marshall. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Any thoughts before we leave this sacred site and go to the next one? Yes, Wendy.
I think it's very important that. So I don't think that we talked about this, but whenever William and Joissine left Louisiana after the Civil War, they came over here. Well, Joissine was a staunch Catholic, and there weren't any Catholic churches that, just right around here that she could be a part of, and so she became a Baptist, and she brought her children with her. William wouldn't go. He was not interested at all, but he was a Bible reader. And so I think that what Marshall, said, he was very prepared in, from being a Bible reader and from Mr. Busley telling about the Mormons in Salt Lake City. And I don't know, I just think that he was prepared.
That parallels, though, with Joseph and Lucy Smith. Joseph was a non-churched, Joseph Sr. was a non-church man, believed the Bible, but didn't feel like you had to go to church. Lucy was the exact opposite, felt like you had to go to church, you had to belong to a church, and wanted all of her children baptized.
That's a great point.
What happened to the Busleys? Were they baptized?
So, interesting question. The question is, what happened to the Busleys? So, first of all we knew was in 1926, Calvin Williamson was interviewed in the Beaumont Enterprise about what prompted his parents to join the church. Calvin, and that's Bill and Bowman's ancestor. And at that time, all he knew was, he said, well, the story that we've heard, that Johnson's army, the man named Busley was in Johnson's army, which Fred Woods, by the way, found Busley in Johnson's army a couple of weeks ago. Nice. And so he was in Johnson's army. We have proof of it. And so what happened to Busley? He came to Texas, But all we knew in the Beaumont Enterprise article from, well, next year it'll be exactly 100 years, in 1926 to 2026, all we knew was it was Mr. Busley had done this. And since then, we now know it's Jonathan Busley, Jana, and I'm some other, Louise, my cousin, and others, and Mom. We found that during the writing of the book, that it was Jonathan Busley. Turns out then we found that he owned the land next to the Williamsons. So if you go to the land plot immediately next to this 160-acre plot, there's a plot that looks like it's probably equivalent. Jonathan Busley owned it. So we found in the Orange County Courthouse during COVID, we came over, and Mom and Jana and I, and there it was on the deed, and he says, the east border of the land borders on William Williamson's land. So they were neighbors, and then when Mr. Busley was old and ill, and he passed, that's when he came and the Williamsons took care of him in their home, according to Calvin. Well, he had a son named Jonathan Busley who did join the church. It doesn't appear he stayed in the church or stayed active. There was a lot of persecution, but they did join. We don't have evidence that Jonathan himself joined before he passed. He wouldn't have had a chance to, because here he was telling William, but there were no missionaries to baptize him. But I'm confident that his ordinances have been realized by him. Jana?
And we did do the temple work for Jonathan Busley. We found Louise Jeter helped us find his wife, and so we went and did the temple ordinance work for Jonathan Busley and his wife Mary, and we've done a little bit for some of the family of that. So that was a beautiful culminating experience for the Busleys. And I really feel that Jonathan Busley really did have a significant role in the Williamsons coming into the church. I feel really grateful that he could have been negative about the church. You know, many were, but he did not say anything negative. He spoke very highly and positively about the church, so much so that it prepared William and Joissine to receive it when they had the opportunity. So we really feel a great love for him.
We do. I'm going to share something just sweet and sacred. This, I mean, you can record. We probably put this in any kind of, but feel free to record. But we won't broadcast this one. It's just sweet. It's we were going to do Jonathan's work when William and Joissine William was sealed to his parents, which we had in the Dallas Temple. Marshall is a sealer in the Dallas Temple, performed that sealing. And when we were going to do that, we had some names, and I was going to take Jonathan Busley's name through, but due to just miscommunication, I wasn't able to get the name into the dressing room. So we didn't do it. And so I was thinking about, well, we could do it in San Antonio where we live. And then the thought came to me to have John Hanks do it. And John is married to a Williamson descendant, and has, as a high counselor, gave a talk probably 30 years ago on Jonathan Busley. And we have a copy. It was a high council talk, and we have a copy of the talk, and we can make copies of it and put it online. In the talk, he said there are now more people descended from William and Joissine and what these elders did than were people in Johnson's army. And he points that out. And I thought, you know, John needs to do his work. So I called him and I said, John, would you like to take Jonathan Busley's name through? And he said, I would love to. I'm going to the Houston Temple in a couple of days. So he did. Well, you know, there's some Williamson descendants that work in the Houston Temple. And Lance Alvis, who was there last night, will be there today. He's a Lissetti descendant, we're ites here, and he's Lissettiite. And Lance happened to be working in the temple, and at the sacred experience we have at the Veil, without just talking too much about that. As you know, we have temple workers assist with that. And as John Hanks, by proxy, took Jonathan Busley's name through, there was Lance Alvis, who was a William Williamson descendant, as a temple worker, to help him with that process as he passed through the Veil.
And that was not planned.
That was not planned, of course. We don't plan those things in the temple. Someone else does. Anyone else? Any thoughts? It's kind of a moment you don't want to break, isn't it?
I would add this. You know, as people blow by here, they have no idea how sacred this ground is. Sorry. And what we observe you do is keep it sacred. Keep the memory alive by the love that you have for these elders. We have no idea when we go serve missions what impact we'll have and whose family we will affect for generations. And it would be easy to just see this as a stand of trees, but it is sacred ground. And you keep it hallowed by what you're doing and how you're keeping the memory alive. So thank you.
Just put a temple here.
You're not the first person that said that, right? Any other thoughts? Anyone else? Daniel, do you have anything?
No, I think it's significant that, the stake president right now, Bowman Fawcett, that you haven't heard from yet, is a Williamson descendant, a Calvinite. And Bill, who you have heard from, who has served in the stake presidency previously, they're still bringing the gospel to this area. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Daniel. Bowman, President Fawcett, do you have any thoughts or things you want to say? He's ironically now the key holder for this part of the Lord's Vineyard. And
I was just thinking about how through this whole process, you can see, and every single one of us has it in our lives. We see it individually. As I've had a chance to meet people across the state, you can see how the hand of the Lord directs small little pieces of their lives to where they come together and they fit together. So from Mr. Busley to William and Joissine being prepared, to having their family here that was willing to accept the gospel. The Lord's hand was in every part of that, even from the missionaries being redirected, from the weather and creating the conditions. That the Lord's hand is in every part of that, working in our lives. And he continues to do that today in each one of our lives as well.
Amen.
Mom, do you have any thoughts?
Well, my heart's really full. I was just telling Jenna, someone this morning that the hoedown last night, that when I was there, and seeing all the missionaries on the board, 400 so far have gone on missions from the Williamson connection here, and you just think of the influence all over the world. I mean, these 400, but then the people that joined the church because they were willing to go on missions. Our cousin just got back, and then now it's 125 years. They got grandchildren that are going on missions because of the Williamson connection. We can't even get it recorded as. And Marshall has been the one that's worked on the missionary part of it. But my heart's so full, I just feel like, where's my handkerchief? I'm so grateful, But I just have so much gratitude for the early Williamsons that joined the church and held the line here. They were the only people that joined the church for years. The missionaries would come and try to teach the bordering ranchers and the area, but we had really wonderful influence. They came in from missionaries that had taught other pioneer areas, such as my mother, that was her ancestors were converted earlier, and then the Wrights, Mabel, they have an ancestor that was converted, and the new blood that came in, like the people from my mother, all the people that married into this Williamson heritage, have added just a new shot of just truth and energy and love. Anyway, I can't explain it. I'm just overwhelmed.
Thank you, Marshall.
Well, just like I was sharing last night, when you think about, as Bowman was talking about here, about the impact that continues today, it was so interesting for Craig and I to find out, because we had served. He was one of my counselors in the Young Men's Presidency, and we, good friends and things like that. But it wasn't until you reached out to him directly, not knowing that I was in his ward, but you reached out directly to him and said, yeah, so your father taught my I guess he's your great.
Yeah, his grandfather taught
his grandfather.
Yeah.
Yes. And so through that process, you sent him the link to the online or the virtual reunion that we did in 21. And so he reaches out to me and he says, so why are you involved with this? And then and then he says, do you know the name? What does the name Elder Reed mean to you? And I said, hold on just a second. And I said, I know that one. And so I called my dad and patched him into the call. And I said, hey, Dad, we've got Craig Fawcett in my ward. He's asking me about an Elder Reed. Do you know an Elder Reed? And he says, well, yes, of course we do. And he says, and we said, well, how do you know Elder Reed? And he says, well, that's my grandpa. And we said, grandpa? Not like great, just grandpa?
Okay.
And yeah, but anyway, so all that to say, when we figured out the connection, it was just so powerful to know not only, it was his grandfather who brought the gospel to my great-great-great-grandfather. And for us, it was such a tender mercy to get a peek behind the curtain. And I just think about how once the veil is removed, to see all the little inner workings and the way that the Lord has, in the little details, met our needs and connected us with the people that we needed to be connected with. I believe it was Elder Maxwell who said that the people that surround us are that portion of God's children who he has given us to love. And not only to love, but those are the ones that we serve with, and there's purpose in those that are around us, and it's not a mistake. And so I just feel like we continue to be led by our Father in heaven and his great and marvelous plan. And just so grateful that for the sacrifices that each one of your ancestors made to bring the gospel to my family, because it continues to bless my family. And I just hold on to the blessings of those the temple blessings and the great promises there that will continue to bless my family, not only in the past, but in the generations to come and forever and into eternity. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and I think just on behalf of all of us, we express our love and gratitude to your families for what your families brought to our family. So, what we'll do now, and so we're going to do one very brief stop. This is basically going to be maybe everyone get out of the car briefly, and we're going to look at these. Wendy, could you just hold that up? So we're going to look at this sheet, and I'm going to briefly describe the road, the Williamson Road. He talks about the road, our road. There was only one road then, and you'll be able to visualize the road. And then we're going to drive over to the Jasper place and do a very short last reading from Elder Brooks' journal about how he preached about the prophet Joseph under these big, beautiful trees. And we're going to stand under those trees. And then we'll just walk a short distance to the site of the first log church in the state of Texas. Everyone gather close where you can see this. Okay, so notice, turn the transparent down so you're looking at this page uninterrupted. That is Williamson settlement 125 years ago. Now, we are standing, do you see where it says Grandma and Grandpa Williamson's home right here? Right there?
Yes.
Hey, Rebecca, would you move them out of the road? We need to let this truck through. So right here, Grandma and Grandpa's home. Notice we were in that field back there a minute ago in those trees. The white bucket that Dale pointed out is on the other side of this building, on that side of the fence in the field. And the original lane then came on this side of the fence, according to Dale's grandpa, all the way up, and the missionaries walked up to right on the other side of that fence there. The road then, so that's their house. Notice the road comes right like this next to the house, this road right here. Everyone see that road? And it keeps going along this fence line right here into that stand of trees over there. That's the Jasper place. In a minute, we're going to be over there looking back this way. So this was the only road here 125 years ago. When he says we're going out on our road, remember Elder Rencher wrote that and Elder Brooks did? That's the road. There was no 105, there was none of this, but the road roughly paralleled the Sally Field Road, and as Dale said, it came just a little bit this way. So it wasn't quite Sally Hill. Notice that it goes a little bit cattywampus, and then it goes straight over to Jasper's place. Joe was here, and then Jasper's place is here. Now, flip the transparency over to today. And if you do that, this is where we are. Notice Sally Hill, there's Texla Road, the highway, coming this way, and here's Sally Hill Road. So we're literally right now, right here on this map, right here. So the closest vestige of the road, it actually came more like this, but then if you get Google Map, I've done it, and if you come over here, you notice there's a fence line that comes from here all the way over to that stand of trees. With property lines going back, we can pretty much say the road ran right along this side of that fence line into those trees. And when we're over there at the Jasper place, we'll pick the road up over there. So I just wanted you to see that. And you can come back if you have time today or tomorrow to come back and look at that, you can. Questions?
I just had a thought. My wife and I were talking. She mentioned that we just went to the Sacred Grove a couple of weeks ago with my family. And in the Sacred Grove, they talk about some of the trees that were in that grove that they call the witness trees because they're so old that there's a high likelihood that they were there at the time that Joseph Smith saw Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ. I'm looking at this tree right here, and I don't know how old this one is, but this looks like one of the oldest trees in the area. This possibly could be a witness tree to that event of the missionaries walking up to William and Joissine's house right here in this area.
President, I think it absolutely was. If you look at that tree, that's a live oak. That tree's 300 to 400 years old at least. So yes, I think that was a witness tree. Thank you for that wonderful perspective.
My parents owned a grocery store right through here. They worked about 13 hours a day. I've probably been in that tree 100+ times. That was my sacred tree. By myself, just sitting up there thinking about life.
And you had no idea what you were even, because of what happened here and that tree saw.
So that's my sacred tree. That's good.
Thank you, Randall. I want to point out one other thing. In a moment, we're going to go to the Jasper place. We'll have Karen read the last entry of Elder Brooks as now the conference president coming back, building the log church right before he goes back to Arizona in February of 1902. But we're going to go over there and see that. From 1901, that church that he built, that he supervised the building of, from 1901 to 1914, that was the official church. And it was, along with the Kelsey building, the first log church constructed in the state of Texas. After that, in 1914, the second church was right here where this home is. It's called the Sally Hill Church. It was a wood frame church. And from 1914 all the way through into the 60s, it was the church. Now they moved it over to where the present building is in the 50s. But this building right here, the Sally Hill Church, from 14 to in the 50s was the church site as well. So that's another sacred site right here. Can everyone see this transparency here, or this map? Okay. Now, if you look on the map, remember the Missionary Road, we were just over here. Now we're right here. You see where it says cemetery? Go straight back towards the road. The cemetery is right there. So if you come straight back And the log church is literally just off the road we just walked down in the cemetery. We're going to go there last in just a moment. But if you come straight over here, just on this side of the road, the Missionary Road ran just on this side of the tree and ran through that slough there. If it wasn't rained in, which it is, it's a swampy low area, just as the elders described now still. So we can't walk up there, but if you walk straight over to that fence line there, you would be looking back at where we just were. So the road, and that was the only road here 125 years ago.
Was the cemetery here when the...
It was. They came here in 1867 and buried baby Lewis, whoever that was, just a few years later.
Okay.
William donated the land for it. Now, if we go to the last part, Karen, this last brief reading, Elder Brooks came back later as a conference president, and before he baptized some of the children and descendants on page
27?
Let's see, page 25. If you will start reading on page 25, Karen, and this happened, he talks about parents, but then he'll talk about Jasper.
We have some empty seats here.
Empty seats, anyone?
Gonna relax a minute? Okay, Friday, April 12th, 1901. It was raining when we got up and continued till about 10 o'clock. I told some of the people it wouldn't seem natural if I came in this county and I got out without having to wade water, and sure enough, we had some wading to do. Soon after it quit raining, we walked over to Perrin Williamson's, but our wading wasn't as bad as I have seen in this part of the country. We were to do some baptizing. Today, Friday, April 12th, but owing to the rain, we put it off till Sunday. Jasper Williamson came over to the Perrins and invited us to come over and stop with him. We had married since my previous visit in the county. We promised to go and stop with him. He had to go cow hunting and wouldn't be back until night. Just a while before sundown, we went to his place. After supper, we had a long talk with them on the gospel, ate 3 meals. Saturday, April 13th. This was a beautiful morning. The sun shone bright. We walked over to the Gentrys, a distance of about 2 miles, to inform them when our appointment would be. When we got there, we found they already knew it. There was some water on the ground yet, but not enough to make it very disagreeable. Hamp Gentry, Louisa's husband, was just about in the notion of being baptized. We stopped and took dinner with them. Along about the middle of the evening, we walked over to Perrin Williamson's and stopped overnight, ate 3 meals. Sunday, April 14th. We fasted this morning. We're to preach at the Jasper Williamson's 10 o'clock. Just a while before the time arrived, we walked over to his place, a distance of a little less than a mile. There was a pretty fair crowd out to our appointment. I occupied most of the time, spoke principally on the life of Joseph, the prophet Joseph. Also announced at our meeting that the baptizing would be done at 2 p.m. Ate dinner with Jasper. The distance was some over a mile. Sunday, the 14th April, to where we were going to perform the ordinance. We walked a part of the way and waded the other part with Mr. Tremy. Elder Jensen done the baptizing. The names were Perrin Preston Williamson and wife Ella Isabel and sister Melissa Ann, and Wade Hampton Gentry. After the ordinance was performed, we went to Brother Cole's and stopped overnight, ate 2 meals. The weather was excellent. Monday, April 15th. This morning, we left Jasper and Orange County and came over the Hardin County. We passed by Ford's Bluff, crossed the Neches River on the railroad trestle.
They walked across on the train tracks. So Jasper's home stood right over here, we believe, and the road ran here all the way through that slough to where we just were. So he would have preached right over here to a large crowd outside in his front yard on the prophet Joseph.
With the mosquitoes.
With the mosquitoes. And no off. And no off. We have off though.
Has anybody ever found any remnants of these homes? Any kind of digging or anything?
No, because there's been other homes built here since.
Oh, okay.
A couple of
And
others before it was passed to another relative, and he had another little kind of home over here. And That's all gone. So no, these were log frame homes from 125 years
Okay.
ago. So we don't.
A beautiful place to have a home.
But based on this tree, which was described by Millie Franklin 80 years ago, she said that tree was on the fence line, that big oak. So, yeah, big magnolias that are gone now, but they were there a few years ago. So,
In my family, this is where we'd sing High on a Mountaintop because we're related to Joel Hills Johnson, so we always sing. Now, they said repeatedly they were teaching the girls songs, and I don't think we can leave without singing a hymn, can we? What's a Williamson hymn? What do you love, Irene?
Wendy, what she's the one that knows the songs they were singing.
What did we? Oh, there's.
Yeah, but we have.
Tell us which one should we sing now?
Redeemer of Israel.
They did
is
that
one of the
Okay.
ones.
Okay, somebody, Kylene, or you? Somebody start us.
Shadow by day and our pillar by night, our King, our deliverer, our all.
We're cousins.
That's right.
Benjamin Franklin Johnson was Joel Hill's
brother. Yep.
He's my third great grandfather.
Cousin!
We are really cousins.
Oh my goodness. I went on
Your relatives around there.
I went on the bus tour with their, where the Johnsons went to Boston, and we took a bus tour all the way back. I've seen all their property
Oh
in
my
New York
gosh.
and stuff.
That's something.
Most of them were closer to you than me.
That's crazy.
Any other thoughts?
Oh, I love
Yep,
Thank you so much for doing all this research and finding this out. This is a real blessing to our family. You know, I knew my grandfather had served a mission. We had that same picture that was displayed last night, but that's all we knew. We didn't know anything about his mission or anything that happened. And so this is just a huge blessing for us. I feel like I know my grandfather because of that. So much more.
The journal's lost, but we have the Bible he's holding in that photo.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Same with me. My grandmother was only 5 when he passed away. So there just wasn't a lot of stories that were told that you would normally hear. And so what a true blessing this has been for me to learn about my great-grandpa. And I'm passing the stories on to my family now that I never knew. So thank you.
Well, I'm impressed by how many missionaries have served from the Williamsons, and my grandfather, his descendants don't have that many missionaries yet, but many of them have served missionaries. 4 of my 5 children served missions, and my sister's family, their kids served missions, and the ripple effect in the church is just incredible to me from what started here.
Thank you. So any other thoughts? What we'll do is just walk over to the site of the log church, the first log church in Texas. There's a granite marker on the site. That'll be our last stop. We'll just go there briefly and talk just a couple of minutes about Elder Brooks breaking his foot building that church. This is where the log church stood, first log church in the state of Texas, constructed simultaneously with the Kelsey. You guys can come up closer if you want. Constructed simultaneously with the Kelsey Log Church in Northeast Texas. The Kelsey Log Church had their first conference in December of 1901. The first conference here was in November of 1901, and the mission president, President Duffin, came and was present. So this, as far as we know, is the first visit of a mission president to a church constructed and owned building in the state of Texas here. And this granite marker was, I just looked at the date, come when you're a minute, come look at the marker. It says, erected June 28th, 1980 by the Williamson Family Organization and Friends, 45 years ago today, that this was erected, this market. I just thought, what is today? It's the 28th, isn't it? So it was today, 45 years ago. Interesting.
President of the association.
That's right. You were president of the association?
I didn't know it till the next day.
Okay.
The union said.
That's right, Randall.
You've been elected. Elder Brooks supervised the building of it and broke his foot and was nursed to health by Perrin and Ella, his wife, and by Ab Cole and his wife, Amelia Williamson Cole. So anyway, this is a special and sacred spot. We have the dimensions. This is the only known photograph of the log church. And this will be, I'll put it up here. Well, I'm gonna leave it here so you can get a picture. But we have the dimensions. It was, does anyone know offhand? Anyway, it's in my book. But you can kind of get a feel for it. You see them standing out here and it has the names. There's Joissine right here, she's still alive. Taken about 1904 or 5. This log church was about 3 or 4 years old when this photograph was taken.
The heritage of the past is the seed that brings forth the harvest of the future. And been erected June 28th, 1980 by the Williamson Family Organization and Friends. Site of First Mormon Church in Southeast Texas, 1901 to 1914.
And then as we walk back, there's a monument to William and Joissine, and it's right over here, and that'll be our last stop.
Don, is it possible to see where the baptisms
Okay,
taken place?
where did the baptisms, Craig asked where the baptisms take place. So 2 creeks, they probably took place. One is Busley Creek. We have a couple of granddaughters that said William and Joissine were baptized in Busley Creek. It's right by the Jasper County line, right up here on the road. And it probably is actually a real creek with all the rain right now. The creeks were much bigger back then. The water table hadn't dropped from all the Kerrville water table paper mill production. And then the other creek is the Little Creek, which is closer, it's right over on the other side of these trees. And then there was 10 Mile Creek, where they join over here. Is that right, Dale? And they were baptized in those 3 creeks. We think William and Joissine were baptized in Busley, a little further down, maybe half a mile this way, maybe even a mile, 3/4 of a mile over here. And then Mom, were you baptized in, Mom? Were you baptized in 10 Mile Creek?
We don't know which creek.
You.
I don't know. Oh, I was baptized in
10 Mile Creek, which is where Busley and Little Creek join right over here. So we'll show you some of the creeks before you go.
Good.
They're right over here.
Everybody step in the church.
Okay.
guys, excuse me. This is not the dimension. Somebody just suggested this. We do have the scale model actual.
It'll be displayed.
But this was just put up. I think they didn't know what like 50 or 75 years ago, whoever put this, they were just trying to preserve this one. That was years ago. So the church was much bigger than this. We found out when we actually got the dimensions. So.
Okay, briefly, we had a question about baptismal sites. So if anyone's interested, when we're back at Mom's place, we can mule ride anyone over there and show them the Little Creek, which was going to be very similar to the site, if not the site for some of the early Williamsons. This marker was made, was it at the same time the other marker was made? Later. This was later. And there's an inscription on the back. Randall, would you mind reading the inscription on the back?
Dedicated 27th June.
27th June.
1987. We, the descendants of William and Joissine Williamson, have erected this monument in their honor to stand as a sacred memorial. We love and revere them for their courage and vision and call their names blessed henceforth and forever. And then he's quoting Malachi 4:5-6.
And would you point out William's grave, Randall, right here?
Yeah. Right here.
Joissine is over here.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, Amelia, Karen, when Elder Brooks broke his foot and earlier when he had malaria and he was almost dead, Amelia nursed him back to life twice. That's her grave over there. She died a few years, she joined and died at 49 years old in 1905, just a few years later, and she's buried right over here, Amelia and Ab. But they were their home away from home. They were kind of like their parents when they were here, those two. Took care of your great-grandfather when he was ill.
There's baby Lewis, too, if you want to.
Yeah, and then baby Lewis is right there. That's the first body that was laid to rest in the cemeteries.
Matt's great-grandmother.
That's right. Margaret. That's one of Jasper's daughters. And Jasper, the son, one of the sons here. So.
It's not on anybody's man's.
Thank you, everyone. And you have until 12 o'clock, so you can go back, rest. You can go to the church. There's things at the church right now. Or you can go back and rest and freshen up. And then at noon, you want to be there noon sharp for lunch and for more neat things, okay?